I'm Tyler Horka, that's Jack Sobel, and we just watched a Notre Dame football practice for the final time in fall camp. Fighting Irish still have plenty of fall camp practices left, Jack, but we as media members, this was the last one that we were allowed to see, and we saw something pretty interesting with the offensive line. It's actually something that we saw last weekend, but at this point it's becoming a bit of a trend, and I think we're starting to figure something out about the Notre Dame offensive line. Jack, what is that?
Yeah, on the left side of the offensive line, we saw Anthony Knapp, the freshman, at left tackle, and we saw Sam Pendleton, the sophomore, at left guard. Now, we saw that the last practice we saw, which was, I believe, Saturday, and when we told you in this very video that, not something that we should concern ourselves with too much unless we see it again at the next practice, and we saw it again at the next practice. At this point, I think we can say, the projected offensive line right now, Anthony Knapp at left tackle, Sam Pendleton at left guard, Ashton Craig at center, Billy Schrouth at right guard, and Emil Wagner at right tackle. Those are three juniors from center to right tackle. So very young offensive line, very inexperienced offensive line. And I think as much as they do like Anthony Knapp, and they really like Anthony Knapp a lot, we can't stress this enough, they think he's going to be a really good football player. Starting a true freshman at left tackle against this A&M front, it's got to raise some eyebrows right now.
And to me, Jack, it means that they really like Sam Pendleton, too, because you still have Pat Coogan on this football team, a guy who started all 13 games for Notre Dame last season. You still have Rocco Spindler on this football team, a guy who started 10 games at one of those guard positions last year. Spindler's running with the second team at guard. Coogan, for the second practice that we got to see in a row, was the number 2 center. He didn't play any guard from what we saw in about 30 minutes of practice today. He was number 2 center behind Ashton Craig. So that tells me they really like Pendleton because they have those two options at guard. 2 seniors. Coogan and Spindler are 2 seniors as well. So kind of the rest of the offensive line, again, you had Coogan taking second-team center snaps. You had Spindler playing one of those guard positions. Sullivan Absher was actually moved back to right guard, so kind of trying him at tackle, obviously, but he's back at the guard position. Gerby Lambert was playing tackle on the right side of the offensive line. I'm blanking a little bit on the left side of the offensive line. Second-team tackle was Tosh Baker, of course. Tosh Baker, the guy who we literally stood here in the last, 10 days now. Joe Rudolph told us, hey, he's our answer at left tackle. But there was always something in my mind, it must be in Joe Rudolph's mind, and he gets to watch these guys every single day, watch the film after they practice and whatnot. If it never happened for Tosh Baker in 4 years, I've said it before, I don't know if it was going to happen again. So this might be Joe Rudolph kind of getting out ahead of it. But, Jack, what do you expect from this group up front? We'll finish this offensive line conversation with, are these guys who I just put on my own social media, a freshman in Anthony Knapp, a sophomore in Sam Pendleton, and 3 juniors in Craig and Wagner and Schrouth, obviously, at the guard position. Are they ready for Texas A&M and those pass rushers?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to see a practice until then, so I guess we'll find out then. Obviously, they're going to publicly say that they're confident in all of them, but they did say they were confident in Tosh Baker, and that lasted for all of a week, maybe less.
About a week and a half, maybe. Well, less, actually, because like you said, we saw on Saturday this shakeup, so it was less than a week.
So, I mean, we really can't say until they come out against Texas A&M. We can say, I think, that long-term they like this group a lot, and I think they feel pretty confident given the 2025 class that's coming in, given Knapp and Pendleton gaining really good roles already. I think we've known they like Pendleton for a while. Making the depth chart as a freshman for Bowl Week, I think, was a green flag for him. Trying him out at center during spring practice and early in fall camp kind of told me that they were just kind of looking for spots to get him in a spot where he was one injury away from playing, just trying to build out his versatility. So I feel good about Pendleton. It's Knapp who Joe Rudolph told us point blank that he long-term probably projects as a guard. So I mean, it's Knapp who I really want to see. Is he capable of dealing with Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart and Cassius Howell and Shamar Turner against Texas A&M? And it's just a matter of time before we find out.
I do think, and somebody responded to that social media post that I told you about, 2021 all over again. I don't think we've seen the last of some rotation at that left tackle position. I think you might see Tosh Baker. They might say, hey, Gerby Lambert, are you ready? And this is all assuming, hopefully, that Emil Wagner is just fine on that right side. If not, then you're looking at an offensive line across the board with some question marks. And like I said, that's only right if you're going to throw out basically 5 underclassmen across the offensive line. So let's get to the other side of the ball. I know that's who you were watching today, Jack. And We actually got to see a little bit of 11 on 11, probably a handful of plays for the ones versus the ones, a handful of plays for the twos versus the twos. And I think just one more thing on the offensive line, that was really what stood out to me is when they ran out there and said, all right, here's the ones and the ones, that was the 5 across the board for the offensive line. That kind of solidified it in our mind. Okay, hey, these are the 5 guys. But on that other side of the ball, some guys probably sitting out with some nicks and bruises and whatnot. What did you see defensively in that session and then kind of all day?
Yeah, some nicks and bruises, some veteran rest, like R.J. Oben sat out the 11 on 11. That's got to be a veteran rest. He was fine in individuals. Howard Cross, who's been nursing a little hamstring injury, he sat out 11 on 11s, but he looked like he was full go in individuals. He did more than we've seen him before. We've said it before, Cross should be fine for week 1. In 11 on 11s, best play I saw was Riley Mills getting a hand up, deflecting a pass at the line of scrimmage. Really encouraging sight to see. You always love your defensive tackles to do that, and Mills is obviously a very large individual who has the arm length to do it.
I actually got that one on film. We're going to put it in here for you guys for sure. He just stretches out that arm, man. And I think Riley Leonard was thinking, this is a ball that's definitely getting to Jaden Thomas. It didn't.
Yeah, and we also saw Don Schuler with the ones. Again, in these 11 on 11s, Schuler with the ones, Rod Hurd with the twos. It looks like Schuler really has the inside track to start week 1 alongside Xavier Watts. And Hurd is obviously going to play a ton, either in a rotation or sub packages or both. Both of those guys, as Marcus Freeman said, are going to help the Notre Dame defense, but I think they really like the play Schuler's been making in fall camp. That's one of them.
And one of the plays that I did see from Schuler today, Jack, was him getting a hand on a ball intended for Cooper Flanagan, who was running a bit of a wheel route with the ones. Mitchell Evans still taking some team reps off, kind of a Howard Cross situation, if you will. Obviously, he's coming back from something more significant, but they're not throwing him in all of these 11 on 11 team periods because his end goal is Texas A&M, and I think he's going to be fine. Anyway, Cooper Flanagan running the wheel. Don Schuler got his hand on that ball. Very good play. Like you said, I think he does have the inside track to start at one of those safety positions. You're going to see him and Rod Hurd play a lot there. So speaking of pass catchers, though, the wide receivers, still a little bit of an enigma to me, Jack. And I know you were watching defense today, but you can share your thoughts. We talked to Mike Brown after today's practice, and he said, yeah, he's still looking for a core 6 guys who are going to play in games. And I asked him to specify, is that 2-2-2? Is that 2 at every single position? And he said, yeah, that's the general thought is you want 2 boundary guys, 2 field guys, and 2 slot guys. Where I'm sitting there thinking, KK Smith has looked phenomenal, mostly playing the field, but so has Chris Mitchell, so has Jordan Faison. I think those are your top 2 guys there. So to me, KK Smith is probably left out. I think your slot guys are Jaden Greathouse and Jaden Thomas. And Jaden Greathouse and Jaden Harrison. I'm sorry, there's so many Jadens on this football team. And then on the boundary, you have Bo Collins and Jaden Thomas. Yeah. I think those are your 6. And Mike Brown told us today, we probably have 8 or 9 that we feel like could play, but we're going to roll with 6. So I think that leaves KK Smith out. Logan Saldate has taken a really good step. He made a couple of catches in team periods today, 2 in a row from Steve Angeli with the 2s. He's probably out. And then maybe Deion Colsey is that 9th that could play, but you're probably not going to see play.
About Micah Gilbert? Did you mention
Micah Gilbert is, I mean, that makes 10. And then who's the one scholarship guy that we're missing at that point is Cam Williams,
yeah.
who I just don't think is ready yet, and we've said our piece on that. So, Jack, do you feel confident in those 6? And is that what you've seen? I know you watched the offensive side of the ball early in fall camp. Would that be your 6?
No, that would be my 6, and I feel confident in those 6 as well. I think you're perfectly fine with guys like Micah Gilbert, like KK Smith, like Saldate. Those younger guys, like sitting, developing. And we talked about this on our show last night. Like, KK Smith is basically a freshman. Yeah. He missed. He enrolled in the summer, missed pretty much the whole season with an injury. He's basically a freshman right now. You're perfectly fine letting him develop and practice more for a big role in the next couple of years. But no, I like those 6. It's a talented six group of guys, or group of 6 guys, excuse me. They're versatile. You can have Harrison Greathouse lining up on the outside. Mm-hmm. You can have Faison in the slot, of course. Jaden Thomas is experienced in the slot. You can do a lot of different things with those guys. And Mike Denbrock loves versatility. So I'd be confident in those 6 for sure.
The one thing that I think has really worked out for this group is Jordan Faison being able to play the field. And Mike Brown told us today, yeah, that's pretty much where we've seen him the most. You guys aren't blind when you go in there. That when you guys walk out after 30 minutes, and you guys being the media, Jordan Faison is still playing the field throughout these practices. Doing that enables Jaden Harrison, a guy that we've thought has looked very good as a wide receiver, to be the one that's working in tandem with Jaden Greathouse, and you still have Faison, Mitchell, and then obviously those boundary guys as well. So pretty impressive group. I think talking to Chris Mitchell and Jaden Thomas, I know you talked to Jaden Greathouse today, confident group.
Yep.
I think they're this Notre Dame wide receiver group is in a better spot than it's been in the last 3-4 seasons or so. So anything else? I mean, this is our last opportunity to bring a practice report, Jack. Anything else we're missing from what you saw today?
No, just one more thing that I heard from Mike Mickens after practice. I asked him, what's the status of the Christian Gray against Jaden Mickey competition? He was like, there's no status. I basically said, whoever goes out there first goes out there first. But that they're both going to play a ton on defense, so I wouldn't worry too much about that competition. We've said our piece about how those guys have looked. I think Christian Gray's a future star. Yeah. Jaden Mickey's one of the more fluid movers you'll ever see at the defensive back position. They're both going to play a lot alongside Benjamin Morrison, and we know what Benjamin Morrison can do.
Yeah, and we both talked to Benjamin Morrison today. This is what he said: "I'm healed. You don't have to ask me the injury question. He's healed. He's ready." We saw him diving on the field in the very first fall camp practice on July 31st. I haven't really seen him take very many reps off. They're funneling a lot in because he did miss quite a bit of the spring. So it's been good. He's ready. We've kind of updated you on the rest of the injuries and whatnot. Pretty healthy team, all things considered. I know there was a wave of injuries early in fall camp, but they're kind of lasting at this point and getting ready for Texas A&M. So, again, this is the last time you'll see us in this capacity. Until then, the Texas A&M game, we'll bring you recaps of all those games with stand-ups like this. But until then, go to the YouTube channel for recruiting updates from Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly. We have our show every Wednesday night. Mike has his show with Tim Hyde on Tuesday nights. We're getting into the swing of things, Jack. We're about 2 weeks out, and we couldn't be happier to bring you all this content. So that's Jack Sobel. I'm Tyler Horka, and we're with Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com.